This is so amazing. I cannot believe that someone just has not figured this out already. As an Airstreamer, I think everyone needs to know this. It is a game changer. It's an aha moment that's going to change your life as an Airstreamer. And that is...
We interrupt this podcast broadcast for some breaking news. At the 43-minute mark, there's something you absolutely have to hear. Please enjoy this episode of The Riveted
with Chris and Gina.
I feel good, Gina. It's springtime, and we're recording a podcast for the first time after a cold winter.
Sun's out.
Yes.
Slight wind. Just a little breeze blowing through the RV.
2 inches of pollen outside.
It'll all be in here soon.
But we're not trying to rub it in or anything, but the folks we're chatting with today are in Ohio, and we hear that it's still kind of cold up there.
I think it's overcast and chilly.
Yeah. And so we know it'll be, warm weather soon, and everybody can get out and stretch their Airstream legs. And we've got a couple on as a guest that they have got some serious volunteerism within the Airstream Club. And it's kind of like, the behind the scenes stuff. And we can't wait to chat with them about it because well,
everybody wants to know what goes on behind the scenes.
Yes.
Like they come to the end result and they're like, have no clue of all of the activity that went on to make it so perfect that day.
And not only that, they're super accomplished Airstreamers and way more eloquent than we are in the way that they describe that. So we're excited to have Jenny and John Schnettler on our podcast. They have already been on our podcast, believe it or not. Their names,
they're like, what?
Their names were on our podcast.
They were
in an earlier episode, and so we're excited to have them on in person. So Jenny and John, welcome to The Riveted with Chris and Gina.
Hi, you guys.
Oh, thank you.
Hey, it's great to be with you guys today.
And not only do you feel good, you two look marvelous, baby. Marvelous.
Well, thank you for that. I know I do.
Oh my. So y'all have met Chris now.
Well, here's the thing. So it was way back in the beginnings of our podcast. And when I say way back, like 30 episodes ago, maybe not quite.
I don't think that was that far back.
Yeah, but
like November.
Yeah, we had the one and only Airstream famous James Shaw on, and he and you guys are super good friends and work a lot together. And he name dropped.
He did.
He did a full on big time name drop on his episode about you guys, and immediately we started working. And it took all this time. Our people had to reach out to your people.
Yeah.
We finally got the deal done.
It's that whole contract negotiation that took so long, right? It was the big bucks.
Yes. And so we're so excited to have you on and chat and connect and just hear all about your Airstream life and everything that you guys are enjoying with it. So
well, we're on our private jet right now. We're flying over to Dubai, and we caught you at just the right moment. This is working out really well.
I'm so glad.
You're actually in the Airstream, right?
Yes, that's right. Well,
okay, that's a big fat lie.
Hey, it sounded great though. Let's roll with it.
Sounded awesome.
Yeah. So normally, you guys, whenever we get on these podcasts, we start with an entry point. Like, what was your entry point into Airstreaming, and kind of where were you in life whenever you got started?
Well, I guess I'm going to answer this because it was really my fault.
My fault.
I've been a lifelong camper, mostly backpacking and canoe camping, but Jenny and I are both retired now. And once I got to a certain stage, I really didn't enjoy camping on the ground anymore. And we had just been retired and loved taking road trips, which I think anybody who loves taking road trips would appreciate, an Airstream, because they're the best thing to do it in. But we were in Redwood National Forest camping at the campground right where they shot the scene with the Ewoks in Star Wars.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
Those big trees, and they had the speeders.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a great campsite. We were underneath these tall redwoods, and there was like 6-8 inch bed of needles on the ground. And we were in a tent, and it was good. But we woke up in the morning, and there was a family in an Airstream next to us. So we went over and chatted with them a bit. And then the rest of the way back from California to Ohio, we kept talking about, well, that Airstream, that might be really neat to look into. And we talked about, and as we talked about it, our conversation went to, well, let's try and find an old one that we could fix up. That way, if we get into it and we don't like it, we don't have too much into it. Well, that's what we thought.
Famous last words.
But, and got back home and said to a friend of mine who runs
Oh, stop. Sidebar. John had just finished building a race car.
Oh,
Right. Yeah, I know. And it's so beautiful. But anyway, so this is the friend he's talking to was kind of his mentor in building this project. So his friend said, what are you going to do next now that you're done with the race car?
Mm.
I said, I'm looking for an old Airstream. Keep your eyes out for me. He said, oh, I know where one is. And it was less than 5 miles away from our home. And we went over and drove up, and it was sitting next to, it's a 1965 17-foot Caravel. It was sitting next to the guy's driveway. And then Jenny said, oh, I want to go up and I want to go look at this. So she just jumped out and went up and knocked on the guy's door. And he comes out and, what do you want?
Crabby old man. It was perfect.
Oh, we're interested in, we saw your Airstream, we were interested in. Well, it's not for sale.
And he's, get off my property.
wow.
So one thing leads to another. And 4 or 5 hours later, we finally left his house. We're trying to figure out how to get out of his house at this point. He had to show us all the Christmas presents he was making and his radio collection and the car he had rebuilt. It went on and on and on.
Wow.
But at the end, he said, I'm still not selling it. And I said, that's fine. I would, if you ever think you want to, here's my name and phone number. We get in the door. We're only 5 miles away and the phone is ringing and it's him. And he says, if you want to come and look at it again, you can come tomorrow, but I'm not selling it. I said, thank you. So I went and I got a cashier's check for what I thought it would be worth. So you can pick it up from here.
So, well, as you can tell, we ended up with the trailer and brought it home, and it's a great trailer.
Do you think that he was wanted to sell it, but at the same time couldn't bring himself to sell it just because?
Exactly. Yeah, it was the clubhouse for his granddaughter, so he still had a lot of emotion attached. He wasn't taking it anywhere.
Yeah,
and it was just parked in the snow. But I think his wife wanted it gone. I don't think he wanted it gone. I think his wife did. But he had been the shop teacher at the high school, so he had a lot of skills. And I think this was a dream of his to fix it up.
right.
Because when we went to leave, and he would turn out to be a sweet man, but when we went to leave, he said, I never want to see this again.
Oh, wow.
And I get it. His little dream project was rolling away.
Right.
And I think it kind of broke his heart, but
Oh.
Yeah.
So
Well, has he seen it?
no, he never has. He
No.
never has seen it again. No.
But the trailer needed to be restored, and somebody had hacked up some of the cabinets trying to replace the fridge in it. So we decided that we'd redo the whole inside.
Totally gutted.
Yeah.
So with the internet, I went out and found the Vintage Airstream Club, and got a lot of great information through them. We did. It was 2019 when we joined the club, and our COVID project for that year, 2020, was the restoration of the trailer.
I was about to ask you how long ago was this that you got it?
Yeah, but that had to be difficult because that's when parts were hard to find, and
We made them all.
oh,
We had never been inside of an Airstream ever, not even the whole time we were working on ours. So we didn't know what you could or couldn't do. So we just made it up.
oh,
And
good for you.
Yeah.
figured, okay. So
Yeah.
we didn't have Airstream parts. In fact, the table, we took the gaucho out and created a dinette, and the table base we found in Switzerland and had it shipped to us.
Wow.
Wow.
But it's the same exact one that Airstream used. But keep in mind, we had no
You
reference.
had no
point
idea.
to Airstream. So we were traveling down parallel paths.
Yes, but you know what's so beautiful about that is that it was an open canvas for you guys at that moment
Oh, yeah.
because
Oh, you're
was-
so right.
Exactly
yeah,
right.
it was anything that you could imagine. Not that you had already seen something trying to mimic it, but you could do anything that you wanted to at that point.
Well, and another little tie into that too is go back to the redwoods. You're crawling out of that tent the next morning after hopefully a decent night's sleep, but you're still crawling out of a tent. And then there's this shiny, awesome trailer in front of you that on the outside you knew immediately was an Airstream. And then it just took a cross country drive back home to realize you wanted one. But the inside is what you made your own.
Mm-hmm.
We never saw their inside. We only saw their outside. And I said to the gentleman, "What's this like?" And he goes, "Oh, it's just like what you're doing, except I get to lock the door." And I really liked that because, we have had encounters with bears and things like that in camping, and there's an element of risk. And I felt a lot safer using the Airstream. But what we did when we renovated it was we found this Pendleton blanket that we really love. We both love Pendleton. We've been out to the factory. I do a ton of sewing.
Isn't that a great factory? Let's do sidebar here for just a second. Isn't that a great factory out there?
Yes.
Very cool.
We loved it.
I loved it. And I kiss the sign and start to cry, because
No.
I'm a huge sewer. And so I design coats as one of my hobbies. So I buy a lot of Pendleton wools and I dye them to the colors I want or need. And one of the ladies there gave me her phone number and to her cell phone and told me when I need different fabrics to just call her and she will walk along and show me what's available and send it out. So I've been able to get wonderful fabrics for clothing and for coats. But at any rate, they had a blanket. It was called the Wyeth Trail blanket. And I loved it and John loved it. But it wasn't yet available in a king. And I called them and I said, I need a king because I want to use it for my upholstery fabric. And they said, that's fine. We'll weave 20 of them and, we'll get you one. Well, they were sold out in the king before they ever even finished weaving it. And it's their number one seller is that King Wyeth Trail. So that became our palette. And from there, we did all the inlaid wood based on the design in the Wyeth Trail.
To mimic what was on the blanket and everything.
Yeah.
So it has a very, the interior design is all tied in together and consistent throughout the trailer, which is, really kind of how Airstream does it too. But we realized
it's cherry and lots of inlays and Korean counters. My cousin made the counters. So we were able to get people.
Did you even know then that Airstream had done Pendleton editions in the past?
Nope.
Wow. That's cool.
There's our accents. Ours are actually the actual decor. It's actually the upholstery fabrics.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And so this is a little more over the top in that way. But, we didn't know that they didn't have drawers places. They just had cubbies. We put in drawers. We didn't know. And we bought marine hardware where you push the button and the button pops out for the locks. So it's real streamlined looking in that cool way, but it has a very cabin feeling because of all the wood and the darker tones that are in it. So, but it's like Harry Potter. because we've removed a lot of the upper cabinets, and we do not keep any clutter on any counters, and we built in tables and edge things and the sofa, the angles. When you walk in, it's like going into one of those tents in Harry Potter where it's 3 times the size. The first 2 words everybody says when they walk in is, "Oh, wow," because it feels so much bigger on the inside than what you had expected from the outside.
That's cool.
Yeah, so that's been a lot of fun. The first trip we took it to was Lebanon, Tennessee for the International Rally. First time we met any Airstream people and loved it so much. 3 weeks later, John went to California and bought another trailer to do it again.
Oh my gosh.
So yes, I do blame this on him. I drank the Kool-Aid.
We got that thing called illuminitis.
Real bad. Like we're still scratching from it.
Yeah, I bet.
Yes, that's wonderful.
The reason we went out to international was for the Vintage Airstream Club concourse event that they hold usually on the same day that they have their open house, and which is a judged event. And so my whole idea there was, well, if we don't get into this, at least with it being judged, I think it'll do well, and we can, show a potential buyer in the future
that has a pedigree at that point.
Right. Independent group of judges went through this trailer and said, yep, it's good.
It's nice. Yeah.
Yeah. And I did very well. We did very well, I should say, not me. But the thing is, I got involved with these VAC folks. They just kind of took me under their wing, and, I found my tribe with them, and I'm still very involved. I'm the VAC second VP, and that's pretty much how I know James and a lot of other people too in the club. And because we were with VAC, VAC usually parks by the shower house and bathroom. And if you have a little 17-foot 1965 trailer, it has no gray tank. So being next to a shower house is kind of important when you're going to be camped somewhere for a week. And so we got there early because I was working on and I've worked a number of years on the carpentry crew. And we were in on Monday. And so they parked us right next to the shower house. But on one side of us was the whole row with Andy Selking,
Ty
Mott, Eric McHenry,
Millie.
Yeah. All, and on the other side
was Mona Watts and John Hawley.
Yeah. And Jenny was doing something.
I was in the bathroom. That's what I was doing.
And
there's no glamour here.
John Hawley and I strike up a conversation, and John is easy to talk to. He's an interesting guy too. So I'm doing a little name dropping now myself. But he's like, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm working on the carpentry crew. He said, I'm looking for an assistant. I said, oh, I've got somebody in mind for you. So Jenny comes out of the bathroom and said, Jenny, come on over here.
I've got a job for you.
You've got a job. And so I introduced her to John Hawley, and she became his.
And I was his aide de camp. And at that point, he was running the entertainment and the opening and closing ceremonies for International.
Yeah.
So what he needed was a runner and a person to help corral the kittens. So that was how I jumped into the deep end.
We both jumped in all the way at the Lebanon International and kind of kept going from there.
So little did I know John was grooming me for taking over. John Hawley. John Hawley was grooming me to take over as the entertainment chair. Yeah. So I did. And then to run the opening and closing and book all the entertainment for every night and afternoon. So then I've done that, and I'm still doing that actually, even for this coming York rally. So a lot of moving parts there. And so then Eric,
your first international rally you went to as an Airstream owner, yep, and club member, you immediately dove into volunteering and participating in the club's
Yes.
operations.
Yes. And then because of where we were positioned with Eric and Ty and Andy, we began talking about different parts of the structure of our club, the administrative structure, running things. And one thing led to another, and the conversation just kind of went off into what else could we do to make these presidency years and these officer years more effective, because you just get started and it's over. So the long range planning and strategic planning gets put on the back burner because there's simply no time. Well, that led into the special committees that began to actually look into this, which eventually I chaired the special committee that created all of the nuts and bolts, like writing the rules to Monopoly. How do we actually do it? So from that, of course, then you meet all these other folks, which is great. And that led into leadership from my point of view. John is in leadership with VAC, he told you. And then I'm on the executive council for our club. So lots of stuff going on. And we can get into part 2 of what being on the executive council has meant for me and what being in the leadership of VAC has meant for John, because they all overflow and they all intersect. And daily, we are busy from right when we get up till right when we go to bed with Airstream. Yeah. And we had never even seen one until 2019.
That's right. Yeah.
I said, I guess it's a good thing they're both retired, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it's, I was going to kind of make a similar comment in a way, Gina, just in the fact that it's like you have a transition in life from your work life or your earlier life to retirement. And what are you going to do? What are your passions? What do you like? And staying active, obviously, and just enjoying nature, enjoying travel, whatever. Lots of different ways you can pull that off, but you guys chose Airstream because of that interest and inspiration of seeing one and your restoration enthusiasm for building one out. And then the next thing you know, boom, you dive into the community and it just becomes part of you at that point.
Chris, you're so right. And what's neat, and I have said this before, is that typically most folks, I am 68, John is 68, most folks, when they reach this stage of life, the friend circle kind of shrinks. The social life, the interests start to close in a bit. And the exact opposite has happened all through Airstream. Exponentially, our friend circle has increased and our physical activity has increased. And we are 7 days a week on it. Yeah. And it's been a lot of fun. I think I feel like we're just peaking intellectually at this stage, and to take all of life's experiences and to experience the culmination of so many facets into one wonderful kind of life here. Yeah. And to sit there and watch Netflix for the rest of our lives, that's just not where you can go when you have the choice to do this.
Yeah. Well, you're still streaming, just in a different way.
We're streaming. That bump.
That was really impressive, Gina.
It was.
I
would have gotten a good one in earlier, but I couldn't find the time. Yeah. So I'll get it in now real quick. So you know what a bear calls a person in a sleeping bag, right? A burrito.
A burrito.
Burrito.
Well, I could only imagine, I'm assuming here, but I could only imagine that when you did buy that first Airstream from that gentleman and knew you were going to take it home to restore it, your thought was, we're going to restore it and make something cool that we can go out and enjoy camping in. And that was the extent of how you thought your lives were going to be.
You're assuming.
Enhanced.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
At that point.
Right.
No, we didn't even know there was such a thing as a club. No clue.
Yeah. So all the things you're doing now, have done already, and then are doing now, those are all just additional things that came along with getting
for the ride. Mm-hmm. Came along for the ride. You're 100% right.
That's really cool. And And it was by happenstance, I guess, that you were parked there at International near the bathhouse. It wasn't. You don't think there was any kind of conspiracy where they're like, "Hey, these folks we need to have them parked over here, and we need to like really get infiltrated into their minds." And was it one of those deals?
I don't
I
think
think the aliens did that. Yeah, up there.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, let's put Jenny and John over. by
Okay.
the
Yeah.
bathroom."
Well, that's
No, it's what, Bob Ross, my personal hero, was a happy accident. And it was just great that happened. We laugh about it saying, wow, if we'd just been stuck under a tree somewhere, this never would have rolled out the way it did.
that's
Yeah.
true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. And so,
Well, I think people can have an Airstream. I think they can, refurbish it or whatever and sit on it. And then I think there's the people who they go through all the effort and they take that one extra step to see what else is out there. And then that's when their whole life takes a turn and changes, and a whole community is opened up to them. You can still have the people who like having their Airstream and, go camping here and there and not get involved in the club. But there's also this other flip side that is available to them if they want it.
Perfectly stated.
yeah, there's enjoyment that can come just from owning one and using it recreationally.
Right.
That's enough.
Mm-hmm.
But all the rest of the stuff that comes along at whatever level you want to enjoy it and participate in it is all due to the longevity of the brand and the club itself.
One thing that's been really fun at this level of leadership that I got involved in is watching this intersection with the factory, the club and the factory.
Yeah.
For a long, long, long time, there has not been a real strong relationship between the Airstream Inc. and the Airstream Club, but there's been a concerted effort really on the part of Lori Tilton, our executive director, and Eric, and several others, Dendy, and that have just said, we want more. And they've gotten involved and developed and grown a relationship with Airstream Inc. to the point that when I'm the project manager for renovating our new clubhouse building, and I had a vision for the front of it, for the front room, the reception room, the lobby. Thank you, John. For the front desk, that I wanted an Airstream to be the desk. And we went and talked to Bob Wheeler, and he put me in touch with Kayla Horvitz and Marion Slater and Kevin Housel. And they came and they created this really, really customized front piece for our lobby. And they gave us all the aluminum to line the walls in the front lobby. And that was a gift.
Wow.
They did not ask us for any money, which we didn't have, but that was their way of saying, we are in this together. They get it. They get the synergy.
Yeah, that's cool.
They build the product and we provide the lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been super fun to be involved in. I've really enjoyed that part of things.
Now, which lobby are you speaking about, Jenny, there?
So we had our club building, which is at 803 East Pike Street, which is about 1.5 miles, maybe 2 miles from the Airstream factory.
Right.
And that was built in 1984. The land was donated by a member. The member donated the money to buy the land. And then the clubhouse had a capital campaign, the club did, to build the clubhouse. And they built that in 1984. But it was woefully inadequate to run a business now, because it's truly, although people say we're just a camping club, we're a business providing a camping club, because a lot of money is involved with running international, with running caravans, rallies. There's a lot of moving parts, and you have to have it run professionally, or else it's subject to problems, which, malfeasance and inappropriate management. And we didn't want any of that. So we have a full-time staff of 6 people that are employed by our club to run the business aspect of the club. And anyway, they've outgrown the space. Technology was not a factor at all when that building was built. We needed a whole lot more. The building next door came up for sale. It was a bank, an accountant office, and a dental office. And it's one building, about 5,000 square feet. So it came available. The decision was made by the board at that time to purchase it. And then the renovation of it was a separate budgeted item to convert it into one unified building. Well, the first quote was a joke. It was outrageously expensive, like more than the building was worth. The second quote was not unreasonable. It just wasn't nearly what we had budgeted to be able to use. So we decided, actually, I'm the one that said, I felt like a Mickey Rooney movie, let's put on a show. I said, we're a club of doers. Why don't we do it? And so the board said, that sounds like a great idea, Jenny. Why don't you do it? I was like, oh, no. Well, I have a secret weapon. That's what, poor John. I have a secret weapon that nobody knows about, and that's John. John knows how to do this stuff. So of course, no. Yeah, I go, John, guess what? We're going to do a big project. So we ended up living there for 7 months, brought our trailer there and lived there for 7 months doing the project. And volunteers came. We had a total of 22 other volunteers from our membership. And some would give a day, some would give a week, some would give 3 or 4 weeks. Jim Koch gave a ton of time. Fred Keel. It was really Fred, Jim, and I and John that were the core team. Jamie Kingseed, just great people. Jeff Dalrymple, Dan Dice. Some of these folks came and devoted a lot of time. And we ended up getting the project completed, and we have the grand opening coming up at the beginning of May. So the lobby, where you come in from the vestibule and you enter the lobby, that's what we're talking about with that front piece and the brand new building. And it's stunning, just stunning. So there will be a phase 2, and we can talk about that when you're ready to, but more is to come and lots more work happening.
That's awesome.
And I think it's great.
The building's all done. It's completed. They're in. All the furnishings are in. They're working great. And
there's some great stories too about that. Like Jenny said, the building for the most part was half and half a bank and a dental office, and that's kind of also how we got, because Jenny's a retired endodontist, a specialty dentist. And so they called us over to ask about all this weird, what are these lines? Oh, that's the vacuum line for when they suck the spit out.
Oh, this is where the nitrous oxide comes in.
That sort of stuff.
You might want to leave that stuff in.
Yeah. So we had built 3 dental offices. So we knew and we've built 5 houses. So we do have a little bit of experience in building.
But it was funny because there was, in order to tie the one side, the dental building side, to the bank side, we had to break through a wall. It was like breaking into the bank, like in Ocean's 11.
Yeah. The whole floor plan, which I actually drew the floor plan. I don't know why I got this skill, but somehow I managed to get this weird skill of being able to envision floor plans. Too much HGTV probably. But anyway, the whole key to making this floor plan work, which when you tour it, you'll see, was to be able to cut through the wall to join the 2 parts together in the back of the building. There was a bathroom there. Had the toilet faced a different way, we would have had to rip open the entire concrete floor to do this. But because the toilet was positioned in just the right place, we were able to eliminate the other bathroom, go and use that for a hall.
There's got to be something there that we can. There's got to be. It's a shitty topic. There's something. There's something that we have to do about that.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So there was a 12-inch thick wall because it was the bank. You had to protect the bank. So it's like Ocean's 11 where they go in the floral shop and they bore through into the vault for a bank from the other side. Fred Keel, oh my gosh, God bless Fred Keel. He managed to figure out how to get through this door that it was the craziest thing because this had been an addition.
We cut the hinges.
The door would have opened outward but this was an addition. So this was where the building had ended. So there was an exterior door, but then when they added the building for the bank, it's a 12-inch thick wall that the door would have opened slamming into it. So you couldn't even get the door out. You had to cut the door out, then get through this wall. And he managed to do it. Of course, I have photos of him. He looks like a Yeti. He's covered in this concrete dust. You can't even tell it's a human. So anyway, that was an amazing feat to do what he did.
I have a quick question, or not. Well, let me ask you this. So just to clarify, so the new building is operational and they're moved in and functioning the club out of it, or is there still more to do?
The new building is all done.
They
Okay.
moved in December.
In December. Yeah, it's
Okay.
up, ready, everything is set to go. And
Got
it's
it.
wonderful.
All
yeah.
right. And so that leads me to kind of my tie-in to this part is, and I'm kind of speaking to our listener right here, but I think you guys can expand on it or help me sum up. But if anybody's listening to this particular episode, hearing this story, and they're fairly maybe new club member, maybe they only go to one or two local rallies per year. Maybe they've never been to a rally yet, but they're looking forward to one. You know, what I'm envisioning some of these newer club members possibly doing is they're rolling into, you know, XYZ campground where the local chapter, local club of their area is having a monthly rally, and they're meeting new friends and they're sitting around the campfire and they're enjoying Airstream conversations and what happens at a typical weekend rally. And they may think that that's the club, but whether it's a region rally, international, or what you guys are doing at the club headquarters, what you have done, all that stuff's got to keep going. And everything you just described there was done by a tremendous amount of volunteer effort. You're the same kind of club member as this new person that's just rolling into a weekend rally. It's the same club, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And and it's an owners club for Airstream, you know, enthusiasts and owners. And whether you're just enjoying a fun weekend camping or whether you dive in at the level you guys are, it's still the same club. And
so what are you saying there, Chris, that it's open for anyone
I'm just,
everyone to volunteer and to participate in?
Well, but I'm also just trying to grab somebody's ear that maybe is not very involved in the club and make them realize that the Airstream Club is more than just going to a weekend rally close to home and visiting with 15 or 20 other Airstreamers. There's a lot more involved in the Airstream Club.
And the club's here for all of us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's true, Chris. There's space for everybody and every level of involvement. I don't know if you are aware that our club puts on over 800 events a year.
Yeah.
800. There's something for everybody to do. And as far as levels of involvement, it's thousands of people that are involved at certain levels, literally thousands. I mean, we put together an army.
And that's probably a better way to articulate what I was just trying to say, is that just to make sure that people realize that if they go to their local club's weekend rally, it's not a different club than what you're talking about up at Jackson Center at the headquarters. It's the same club, and the same overall international club is overseeing all of that.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, that's really cool. And what made me that pop in my head is talking about that toilet thing. Is like we're on an Airstream podcast, and like, why are we talking about a toilet being positioned a certain direction? But it makes sense. It's because, you know, that toilet had to be factored into this new headquarters, and it's still part of the club.
It's interesting that you bring that up, because that's, you know, as campers, you tend to be a little bit more raw and candid about things like toilets.
Yes.
Sure.
You know, because it's such a part of the design of everything. Of if you can't have a good bathroom, that design eventually fails, and they have to move on to a new design. And so, because we travel with a toilet, we actually are hauling a toilet around. It's kind of a funny thing that we get very, very candid with each other about things like this. It's not a taboo subject.
Yeah, and I'll speak for Gina on this. Well, both of us, but one of our biggest benefits that we have received from being Airstream owners and travelers is the ability to have our own toilet with us when we stop for fuel breaks and things like that, and just not having to go into a convenience store.
dirty, disgusting toilet or waiting.
Yeah.
We got our own bathroom with us, and it makes such a difference in the breaks and
Yeah.
bathroom stops.
Yes.
Safety and comfort, truly.
Yes,
Safety and
absolutely.
comfort.
To the point
Yeah.
that it's like, if we don't have our trailer with us and we are faced to have to do that, we're like, oh my gosh, we really got to go in.
Like, yeah, I don't want to go in.
Hey, while we're on the topic of toilets, I want to ask all of your listeners for a piece of advice. So, I mentioned that we got another trailer and we're doing this one, and we're really juggling. Do we want to do a composting toilet? So I need some insight from members. What anyone who's used one or likes it or tried it and didn't want it. I'd love some feedback on that.
That would be a good topic. I know there's a.
I would love to hear people's feedback on that too, because I would be interested in having one.
That could be a topic of conversation that might be as contentious as tow vehicles.
Like a potty talk. So we could have a thing called potty talk.
Potty talk. I like it. We should do that.
Yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt your train of thought there on the building, but I felt like it was a good time to tie that together, because I know we've met some folks at rallies that it was their first rally and they were excited to come and participate, but I think they may have had in their mind that was the club. There wasn't anything more elaborate than that.
Yeah.
And
like you joined your local club in your area once you got
that was what you joined, right?
And that was it. Yeah.
Yes.
But you aren't a member of a larger
Right.
umbrella operation.
Well,
I would invite everybody to come to Jackson Center. It's so cute. I've had people who don't live at all in any of the Midwest Strip, and they've said, why would anybody come to Jackson Center? Well, oddly enough, people come here all the time because they either need to have work done or they're on their way somewhere. And this is really very, very convenient from 80, from 40, from 75. Those highways that go there, they're all just a hop, skip, and a jump over to the Airstream place. But you have the Airstream factory and the Heritage Center and our club headquarters, and there'll be more, which I'll tell you about in a minute. But you also have some museums right around there, which are amazing. The Neil Armstrong Museum, it's great. The Bicycle Museum, yeah, who knew?
At the Air Force Museum down in Dayton.
So in its very small geographic circle, there's a lot of stuff to do.
Yeah, you'd be surprised, having spent the summer, living there and seeing people coming and
every
going
day.
and
Every day members are at the building. They're camping there.
Yeah, there's courtesy parking at the behind the old headquarters building.
So, Chris, you were bringing up members who might be new members and they're listening in, and I thought you were going to ask this question as the segue.
Oh.
And so I'll bring it up, and that is, okay, so you moved into this new building right next door. What happened to the old building? And that's called Phase 2.
Okay.
Yeah. And Phase 2 is the complete renovation of that new building. We own almost 13 acres of land between these two buildings.
Wow.
Yeah, on one plot. It's actually 3 parcels, but it is of one plot. It's about 13 acres. So it's a big space. And the other building, which is about 25% smaller, we are turning that into our own historical center and educational library.
Whoa.
That will house 60% of that building. It will house all of our artifacts, all of the club's records, all of the club's documents and blue berets and everything this is our 70th year of our club. It began in 1955 up in Canada near Nova Scotia. And so this is our 70th year, and we've accumulated an awful lot of beautiful documentation of the wonder of being a member of this club. And we are wanting and needing a place to safely house and protect our archives and display them. So this will be that part. And then the other really 35% of the rest of the building is a new member clubhouse with 3 shower rooms with the bath, the toilet, the shower, the sink, and laundry with 2 stack washer dryers, as well as a member lounge and a data center.
Wow.
So that when you come in, you plug in, You relax, you shower, you meet up with some people, get your laundry done, spend a day or two, and go visit the area. Behind the building, right now we have 3 courtesy parking campsites with electric and water. There's a dump station right there as well. We will very rapidly be expanding that to 6 spots there. And between the 2 buildings, we will be building 6 additional campsites with water and electric. In addition, we're putting in a pavilion, big pavilion, 40 by 30, and a fire pit. And there's a really large dog park, which will be fenced, lighted, and have water. So we are starting on May 3rd. We'll be launching the fundraising campaign for all of this. And we will have the groundbreaking ceremony to launch phase 2. I have met with the mayor and the county engineer and the county health department and the village administrator and the village zoning board. And we're all approved for these changes. I've got our permits and ready to rock and roll. So just when I finish phase 1, boom, we go right into phase 2. So remember I mentioned we have an awful lot of land. So 3 years ago, we did 2 years ago, we had commissioned a study done, a feasibility study out of a company in Florida, where they evaluated that land to see should we open and consider an RV park. Well, it can be done, and they did all of the homework and projections and layouts and costs and income and all those important informations. They recommended we could do between 40 and 50 site RV park. Well, we're not ready for that. So I love this phase 2, where we are actually going to have a total of 12 campsites. And that's going to really be a litmus test, kind of a pilot study for us to determine, do we need to expand into a 40-acre park? Would it be used? If this demand tells us, my gosh, we're filling up these sites every single week, we can't keep up with it, that is a justification to consider expanding that cornfield that we own into somewhat of an RV park. So when I met with our village friends, because I call them friends because I love them, in the village of Jackson Center, I showed them the schematics, the drawings, all the information that we've developed, and they sat there with their mouths wide open. And they said, we have been searching for opportunities for economic development in our little town, and you just handed it to us. So they are so supportive. They're beyond thrilled that this is something that could happen. But I said to him, well, I got one more thing I want to do, and I want you to tell me yes. And that is, that pool right across the street, the swimming pool, the public pool with tennis courts, pickleball, and basketball courts? I want you guys to enter into a contract with us where everybody that stays here for our courtesy parking and our campsites gets a pass to get to go use those facilities when they're visiting. And they said, we'll do it.
Yeah, wow.
Well, that makes perfect sense. And
That
it's
does.
we just bumped up our amenities for families to bring the kids to the pool. We just bumped it up without needing to invest in the infrastructure to do that.
Awesome.
Right. No, that's perfect.
So, has any of this information been publicly announced yet, or is this like breaking news?
This is breaking news.
Oh man,
Woo,
that's what I'm talking
news.
about.
I love it.
So it's break. It
really does break. It really does launch on May 3rd.
Oh man, this is awesome.
Yes. So has the public been invited to the event on May 3rd, or was
on
that
May 3rd? The public is invited from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock for an open house, and the village has promoted that. They've sent a letter to every villager. They're so excited. They're thrilled. They'll be there too.
I'm sure.
But the groundbreaking ceremony and the cocktail party that follows is invitation only. And that's for the folks that had a lot to do with this project. It's our way of thanking them. But let me share with you why and how are we getting the money? How are we getting the money for this great big party?
From John's wallet.
The Bank of Jenny and John. The Bank of Jenny and John tend to fund a lot, but not this entire thing. This is, so we might have mentioned to you that when they said, what the heck to do with all these lines, these vacuum lines and suction lines and water lines running through the dental part. Guess what? They were copper. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah. So Fred Keel, I'm name dropping again because I love Fred. Fred said, hey, I think I can get all that recycled for us. So the recycled money from that, the copper, is what's paying for this big party.
How
See,
about
how
that?
perfect is that?
That's way
I
cool.
know. Because guess what? We're Airstreamers and we can do it.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
That
We
is
are
an
a club
amazing
of
story.
doers. And if
Yeah.
anyone out there is a doer, jump in. The fun is when you really get involved. That is when the real fun starts.
You know, the thing that I just think's awesome is about all of this is we're about to run out of time already, but we've not even talked about some of your amazing trips and destinations and experiences from actually using your Airstream. But your lives have been forever enhanced and changed just by buying the one you did, restoring it, and then diving in like you have,
Mm-hmm.
and all of this other thing that you've described and so forth. You're enjoying what you're doing, but it's still got to do with the Airstream.
It's, John and I both say this, that getting involved, like you said, Chris, getting that first Airstream and jumping in as we did, it literally changed the trajectory of our lives. This was not ever on the radar for a retirement plan. It
Yeah.
just wasn't. And
And
boy, you use that word enhanced. It is. It has enhanced our lives.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and you know, the brand's been around a long time. You guys were tent campers. You were exposed to one like you described. Flash forward to what you're doing right now. But if you think about that from a period of time standpoint, Airstream as a brand has been around for so long. You ended up getting one, but now the volunteer work that you guys have done and spearheaded and were responsible for in order to make some growth adjustments to the club, that's going to carry on for generations. The
Yes.
club's going to be able to function and carry on for another, 40, 50, 60
Mm-hmm.
years in a new facility because of the efforts that you guys
Well, it's not just
volunteered to
efforts;
do.
it's a passion.
Passion.
Yes, I can
passion
hear
project.
it in their voices.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I invite everybody who does have a passion for our club to join in this, whether it's a donation, whether it's time, whether it's even artifacts. Jump in, do it. It's way more fun when you're a part of it. When you leave
Yeah.
your fingerprint on something, that becomes fun.
I agree.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I think there's a lot of people out there who would love to be involved. They just don't know how or what that first step is. And I think we just gave them that today.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Or whether they could or should
Yes.
or whatever. And it is a I don't know the specific stats or like know how to properly compare it, but when you look at the RV industry as a whole and you look at some of the other popular brands that are out there, they've got owners clubs, but a lot of them I think are kind of just funded by the manufacturer. This is a fully independent, totally self-sufficient owners club that has partnership and support and collaboration with Airstream Inc. But we're not. The club itself is fully self-sustained and operating and has operated
Because of the members.
because of the
Mhm.
members. The brand is what's causing the club to be so solid and so
Vibrant. Mhm.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
You're right. And we are autonomous. Our direction as a club is completely independent of anything, any influence even of Airstream Inc. And
Yeah.
that's a smart and healthy thing. However, the collaboration, like you mentioned, is beautiful. The
Mhm.
fact that we love them, they love us. And that's part of, I think, what drives things forward.
Well, you can't have one without the other.
We did for a long, long time. And that
Yeah.
it's gotten so nice again. It's just joyful. We're heading into the 100th anniversary of Airstream Incorporated. That's in 2031.
Yep.
And so there's some real fun collaborations that are happening between our club and Airstream Inc. to honor and excite an exciting time, a very important milestone in the history of the our organization and their company.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. It is one and the same when you think about it, because who actually started the club? Helen.
Yeah.
Helen Schwamborn.
did.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I think the loyalty, the commitment, the passion that Airstream owners have for their trailer and the brand, the club is as significant as it is because of that passion that we have for the brand, even though they're separate. And
You know what we're going to need next, right?
what?
We're going to need a volunteer coordinator.
Yeah, that would be super helpful.
Yes,
like somebody to coordinate all the volunteers.
all the volunteers, like
So-
a
Conductor of the orchestra. Yeah. So I got to mention one more thing. I feel very guilty all of a sudden. I'm not mentioning this. You asked about the grand opening on May 3rd, but I forgot to mention Michael Lambert. I don't know if you know Michael Lambert. Oh my gosh, what a great man. He's from Canada. He's an artist and a musician. And he is having an art exhibit that's opening at the Heritage Center, this is the first one they've done for a private artist. It's all Airstream art.
Yeah.
And Michael's exhibit opens at noon on May 3rd on Saturday. And we did this in conjunction. Jake Cullis over at Airstream Inc. coordinated our two events so that this is on purpose. But Michael will be over there giving tours. Bob Wheeler, who's the president of Airstream Incorporated, will be giving a little speech. And then Dale Schwamborn, whose mom was Helen Schwamborn, who started the club. She's Wally's cousin. Dale, people know him as Pee-wee.
Yeah.
He'll be out here too to celebrate all of this stuff going on. And so if somebody is coming, plan to stop over there from noon to 3 to see Michael's exhibit. And then he donated one of his paintings to our Airstream club for the lobby. And then he has a limited edition of the prints of that picture, signed edition. He only did 70 because of the 70 years, and he'll have that available for sale.
That's awesome.
Well, see,
I tried to buy number 1, but my dear friend already bought that one, so John and I had to get number 2.
I saw that post. It may have been just within the past couple of days that there was a social post about that art exhibit and the limited edition painting.
Yeah, it's stunning. The art exhibit it's if you have not been in that beautiful facility, the Heritage Center, it's a part of the Airstream factory, and Samantha Martin, amazing young woman,
beautiful,
was the curator of that museum.
She did a great job.
Oh, great job. And Michael's exhibit is a beautiful complement to it.
That's great. And it's going to be there permanently or just?
No, I believe it'll be there through September.
Okay. Wow.
Okay, that's good.
Awesome.
We'll get to see it then.
I
wish we'd have known about the May 3rd thing. We would have been there.
Well, I'm sure it's going to be a wonderful weekend and just enjoyment of to celebrate a piece of work that everybody did to get it to that level, and it'll be
talk about sweat equity.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's
beautiful.
Good point.
Well, there's more to come. We're excited about the next part.
Yes.
There's lots of things going on. So there will be a fundraiser. This will be a massive fundraising campaign to bring up all the money we'll need to do it. And I do invite your listeners to jump in. There's opportunities at every single level. We're even doing a engraved brick patio so that people can choose to have a brick for their pet or their family or their loved one or their veteran, anything they want.
Their podcast.
Yeah. It's amazing. You could do your logo. You can do a corporate logo.
That's pretty cool.
I like it.
That's a good idea.
We'll have to put it out there for the individual local clubs to do like a rotation out of volunteering. So like, the Carolinas club go, this 3 weeks or something, and then Florida this and Arizona this or whatever, and get these volunteers out there working and helping.
It's awesome.
That would be wonderful.
We definitely look forward to seeing you guys at International, if not sooner.
Yes, because you know why?
Because why?
we can announce officially we were registered last night.
We did. We registered last night.
Yay for you.
Yay.
We are not
on one of the very last sites.
We
Yeah.
probably did, because we're not the best planners. We like to be spontaneous, and planning something that far in advance is rather difficult, but we did it.
We did do it.
We did it.
Well, we got some fun lined up for you.
There's going to be a lot of fun things
Oh, I
going on.
can't wait.
Yeah, I'm
It's
sure.
You're
gonna
going to have a great time.
be. Mhm.
Cool. Well, we thank you guys so much for giving us a little time.
This
and
has been a pleasure.
It's the time has flown by, and what I've gotten the most out of is just hearing the stories that you told. They have to do with Airstream.
Mhm.
They're worthy of being on this podcast because, you know, our theme is to talk about how adding an Airstream to your life has enhanced it or made it better, and the experiences that you get from it. And everything you just described fits that,
It
even
was
though
a huge enhancement.
yeah, but
Mhm.
very little of it had anything to do with actual camping. But that's great. It was wonderful and
It's
great.
just a different aspect of how Airstream can
Great story.
enhance someone's life.
Absolutely. And you guys, you can definitely hear it in your voice that you love it, and
Very
it's
passionate.
yeah. So thank you guys so much.
Well, we do a lot of camping. We lived in the Airstream for 7 months.
Yeah,
So
And that's how you know if you really are compatible. You can live in a 17-foot
for sure.
Airstream
with your
while,
Labrador Retriever dog.
while you're working every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And still love
Still
each
have
other.
a great time. So,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
Chris and Gina, you have just been so delightful for us to have time to get to know as well. And this was wonderful. Thank you.
You're
Well,
very
thanks
welcome.
for joining us on here. It's been rather entertaining, very enlightening. I learned a lot today.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you
Well,
guys.
thank
And
See you on down the road.
yeah, see you down the road for sure.
Thanks,
Stay
you
well.
guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Wow, Gina, that was amazing. I think we just talked to like the queen of Airstream.
You do? King
Yeah.
and Queen of Airstream?
Possibly.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think you know how like in the Wizard of Oz when they say don't pay attention to the man behind the curtain?
Yes.
I think they were
That's the people behind the curtain.
That's the people behind the curtain.
Yes. That's a great analogy of that. I
think
like
so.
that. Yeah. But yeah, because I learned a lot. I had no idea all of that was going on.
Amazing.
Mm-mm.
Amazing. So listener, we hope you enjoyed this episode. Can't wait for you to listen to more. You can check us
Yes.
out on Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, YouTube podcast, or straight at therivetedpodcast.com. That's our listening page, and check out all of our episodes. We're up to, approaching 40 episodes now. We're having a blast. We hope you're enjoying it, and just happy that you're a listener.
Thank you very much, you guys. And if you happen to be in the Jackson Center area on May 3rd, go check out the International Club there and say hello to John and Jenny.
That's right. All right, everybody.
Yes. We'll see you down the
See
road.
you down the road.